going to dive right into it.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, we're so glad that you're here. And as you know, we're talking about why are Christians such hypocrites? And we have just a few questions. I mean, they're not going to be hard for you at all because
very light, very just,
you're
just
an
keep it light.
You're an expert. You got this.
No tough questions at all. You know?
So we just want to have a conversation and get your thoughts on this. So here's our first question. All Christians behave in a way that's hypocritical at times. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
No, absolutely.
So in light of that, how should we respond when we witness another Christian sinning? How do we exhibit righteous judgment?
Yeah, and so there is a place for what's like righteous indignation, if we call it that. Jesus exhibited that. You know, I think when growing up, we always heard, or at least I heard, like, don't be angry or don't, all these like these things that are impossible to do as a human. Anger is okay. You just don't want your anger to lead you to sin. So what you're angry at also matters. And so I think I want to preface this a couple ways because I deal with a lot of people of all worldviews, but especially atheism. And so I would caution everybody, I don't know who all is listening, but you always judge a worldview by its propositions, not by its adherents. So if I'm going to examine the efficacy or the validity of Islam, I can't only look at terrorists. I have to look at what does the Quran say or what was taught. And then from there, you examine, are these propositions valid? Are they coherent? Do they correspond to reality? So unfortunately, we can't just look at Christians and say, that's Christ.
Right.
That's not going to happen on this side of heaven. So if anybody has had a bad run-in with a hypocritical Christian, I'm sorry, but that's not Jesus.
Right.
And if it was me, I'm sorry. So this is what I always think is interesting with this question, or this type of question. Christianity never promised perfection. Like that, that's nowhere in the Bible. And so our faith Christ never said, be saved and be perfect, and then I'll make you perfect, rather. He will perfect us as we go through life, which is sanctification.
Yeah.
But what I think is important, Christians recognize the sickness, and we also know we need the cure. What's different about Christianity and every other religion is this is not a works-based religion. Everything else, you got to work off your karmic debt or work to please Allah or work. You got to do something.
Yeah.
Christianity says Christ did it, and we accept what he did.
Yes.
Now, by us doing that doesn't mean we get to be him. We're not going to be Christ on earth. We're supposed to be Christ-like, and that's our goal, and we should aspire to that. So I say that as a preface because I think sometimes we put the standard too high on ourselves or even on our brothers and sisters. And we do want to call out sin when we see it. I'm a part of a group of guys that we meet every month to hold each other accountable. We're going through books every month, or like we read a chapter every month, studying stuff on just general manhood. Right now we're going through a book called Clean, which is about sexual purity. So I've taught this, but I've never get to the point where I think I've got it and I beat it, right?
Yeah.
We can't get too complacent. And I think this is where hypocrisy can creep in our lives. So let me just utilize this passage. I think Pastor Gray used it too. I'm not sure, but Galatians chapter 6, verse 1-5 says, brethren, if a man is overtaken in any trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, considering yourself, lest you be tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone thinks himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. That's the hypocrisy. But let each one examine his own work, and then he will have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another. For each one shall bear his own load. Now, in the Greek, this is two different things. When it says bear one another's burdens, and each one shall bear his own load, there's two different words Paul uses, which I think is significant in a way. In verse 2, when he says, bear one another's burdens, the word is baros, B-A-R-O-S, which means a heaviness or a weight or a trouble. And it's something that the idea is that you can't carry it alone. That's what's embedded in the statement. In the verse 5, when he says your own load, the word is fortion, which refers to the individual obligations that you have as a Christian to align with the doctrine that Christ gave. So we have a responsibility to do self-examination.
Yeah.
We also have a responsibility that, like, if I say, yo, KJ, man, you know, I just need to pull you aside for a minute. Look, like what you're doing right now, it's not cool, man. Like, how can we fix this?
Yes.
But you got to have people in your life that you can trust with those issues, and who will bear the burden with you.
Yeah.
And not place more burden on you.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I like that. I like the concept. I heard actually Jess Connolly say this once about how you shouldn't call people out, but you should call them up. And that just remind them of their identity in Christ and who they really are. And when they're acting in a way that's not consistent with that, with their identity, then you don't call them out and say, you know, like, why are you like this? You say, remember who you are. You're a child of God. And so act accordingly, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.